Is it remote worker or is it digital nomad? The only truth is that your boss hates it either way, but what is the definition and should you even care? Hi, I'm Rick Higgins, and yes, you should care. And yes, there is a big difference in those two titles. They do have a similarity. Your boss isn't going to be able to walk up to your cubicle and help you by managing. But what is exactly the difference between those two things? Well, I've been doing remote work for, almost 14 years now, so I have a little bit of experience. Now, I'm not going to go all Miriam-Webster on you. This is mostly my opinion, but the biggest difference between those two things are time and location. And having said that, I've got four things that you really need to be aware of if you want to make the jump from remote worker to digital nomad. So the biggest part about being a digital nomad is you are probably not in the same time zone as the rest of your compatriots, and you certainly are not in the same location. So the big thing you need to worry about, number one, is communication. Now, I know you've got Zoom, I know you've got whatever group chat that you've probably already used to using with COVID, but you're gonna need a phone. And I did this in a video already with minimalist travel tips, but it applies very well here. Get Google Voice. Get Google Voice because you're going to want a US-based phone number. Your employer/client is not going to want to dial a country code every time they want to reach you. It's going to remind them that you are far, far, far away, and it's going to make them disgruntled. Get a US phone number so you can use it in conjunction with your local number. It makes it so much easier for your compatriots, your peers, your boss, and your client to get a hold of you. Tip number two is redundancy, and it comes in a big size and a small size. The small size are things like your mouse dies or you need an extra cable. Normally you would just go into the closet or run down to Best Buy and you pick something up, but you're not going to do that where you're currently sitting. So pack yourself a save the workday bag, your extra mouse, extra batteries, extra cables, extra dongles, extra chargers, the little things that you think you're going to need that just annoyingly interrupt your workday. But the bigger problem you're going to have is connectivity. By that I mean internet connectivity. Now let's say you're staying at an Airbnb and they promised you internet, high-speed Wi-Fi. Well, what happens when it goes out? By the way, don't ask me how I know because mine went out for 2 solid months. Have redundancy. Now maybe you're off-grid and you need to have somewhere that you can just suck in the internet out of the sky. But make sure that you always have a secondary and a thirdary place where you can get connectivity. In Spain, I had to scramble, but I should have prepared. Find all the cafes and the restaurants and the businesses that you can go sit outside and use their Wi-Fi. Make sure it's high speed. Make sure they don't care, which overseas, most of the time they don't. The workers aren't working for tips and not trying to turn over your table. Also look into places like WeWork and some of those other on-demand, pay by the day, month, whatever. They give you a cubicle, a desk, or something with high-speed internet. Before you have to find it, go find it, because I've spent a good 2 days just trying to scramble and get internet working when my landlord decided that that was no longer a part of my Airbnb fee. And tip number 3 is kind of like tip number 2, but it's much larger. If your mouse goes out, you can bring an extra mouse. What happens if your laptop goes out? And being a digital nomad, laptops are kind of key. Now this happened to us in Spain, so we had to go buy a brand new laptop. Guess what? They're different. They have different keyboards. Yes, in Spain, the keyboard does not look like the keyboard on that laptop sitting right over there on my desk. It has extra keys. The things you think are in certain places are no longer. It is very, very difficult to use a foreign laptop. Never mind the fact that you got to jump through a whole bunch of hurdles to turn it from whatever their language is into whatever language yours is. Now, there's no real way of solving this. You can go get Amazon to deliver through one of their lockers or some kind of other safe delivery, I suppose, but that's going to take a while. It might take a couple of weeks when you want to ship overseas, and you can't really pack a secondary laptop. But just bear in mind that this is something that is going to happen, and you need to make plans. Worst case, have somebody at home buy it for you, ship it to you. Or if you have a secondary one at home, have a box sitting there that just, hey, replacement stuff for my office, and just have them drop the box into the post office, send it as much as overnight as you can get. Because when you have to replace the big things, the big tools, or if you're like me and you've got camera gear and I really don't know how I'm going to do this, try to find ways that you might be able to replace it with US equivalents. And just kind of bear in mind that you might get stuck and have to take a couple weeks off while this happens. Okay, my final riff on the subject, and we're getting back to time. You're gonna have to protect it. You're gonna have to own it, protect it, get the weapons out, do whatever you got to do, but your time is up to you to manage. And by that I mean the people back in the States or wherever your client is, they're gonna forget your time zone. They're gonna be 3 in their afternoon, pick up the phone and go, hey you, and it's gonna be 3 in your morning, because they're gonna go, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. But hey, while you're up, what you need to do is just jealously protect your time. Make sure they understand when you're available and when you're not. Make sure they know when those times are that you both have shared overlap, and that's the only time they can contact you for some kind of direct interaction. So like I say, I've been doing this for 14 years here and abroad, and that is the one biggest thing I've had to manage, both for myself and for them. It is up to you, again, up to you. You've got to make sure they understand it, because their life hasn't changed, yours has. That's the world of a digital nomad. And with that, be healthy, be happy, get these somewhere else with your laptop and start a working, and we'll talk to you real soon.